cases to 535. Of the additional Omicron infections, 3 patients are still sick, 467 have recovered, and 20 others are for verification. The DOH also says over 300 are local cases, while 160 are returning overseas Filipinos. Most of the local cases have indicated addresses here in Metro Manila. The DOH on Tuesday said Omicron is already the predominant variant in the capital region. Other local cases are found in the Calabar Zone and Central Luzon regions, as well as in the northern part of Luzon and in parts of the Visayas and Mindanao. The Cordillera Administrative Region is among the top 5 regions contributing to the rising COVID-19 cases these past days. Among the areas there showing an unprecedented increase in infections is Baguio City, where 2 local Omicron cases have been detected. Our Caroline Bonkin has more.
From less than 10 COVID-19 cases a day in early December, infections in Baguio City shot to nearly 500 per day the past week. Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong says the Omicron variant may have been driving the surge before Christmas. The city has 2 local Omicron cases. Both have no recent travel history outside Baguio. One of them got infected as early as December 14th.
Safe to say na 1 week before December 14th, nagkaroon na ng transmission, local transmission sa Baguio City. Na-aggravate lalo yan during Christmas and New Year. Okay. Yung time na yan talaga na-aggravate kasi talagang matindi yung akyat ng ating mobility graph.
Nearly 4,000 people in the summer capital are still recovering from infection as of Monday, and cases are growing by the day. Octa research says a COVID patient in Baguio could infect up to 4 people, an indication the virus is spreading fast.
Mukhang hindi pa siya nagpi-peak. And it could go up to higher numbers. The reproduction number in Baguio that we're seeing is still high. Siya yung pinaka affected by Omicron next to Metro Manila.
While most of the cases are mild, 73% of ICU beds, isolation beds, and ventilators there are in use. The city government is bringing back additional COVID beds previously freed up for other illnesses.
Kukunti lang ang severe at critical cases natin. Kaya lang, may mga mild cases tayo na nasa ospital. Bakit? Kasi may comorbidity. Kunwari, may cancer. Nasa stage 3 or nasa stage 4.
In a bid to curb the surge in cases, children aged 11 and younger, as well as the unvaccinated 12 to 17-year-olds, are barred from going out.
Except if they want to go to the parks, they want to go to the gardens, basta open spaces,
While the city has temporarily shut its borders from tourists, contact tracers continue to work double time. The city is also buying more antigen tests and antiviral pills. La Trinidad Benguet, which is close to Baguio, also gears up for COVID surge by building an additional isolation facility.
Last January 6 lang, 5 lang ang positive case, active positive case. Noong January 7, naging 30 hanggang tumaas, hanggang naging 824 kahapon. Once na ma-inspect ng DOH yun, we are going to prepare for whatever kung talagang magsasearch dito sa munisipyo ng La Trinidad.
Most of the COVID patients in La Trinidad only have mild symptoms and are isolated at home. Mayor Salda says their good vaccine coverage helped prevent COVID cases from overwhelming their hospitals and isolation facilities. Caroline Bonkin, CNN Philippines.
The Labor Department apologizes for the confusion arising from the implementation of the no vaccination, no ride policy.
To apologize to the public for that kasi as I was telling Secretary Carlo of the CABSEC, na kailangan pa ng massive information drive about this policy.
Although workers are generally exempted from this policy, a number of labor groups insist it is anti-poor. More from Stanley Gahete.
Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III made the clarification on Tuesday following the uproar over the no vaccine, no ride policy. He said workers with proper identification are exempted from the ruling in Metro Manila, which is currently under Alert Level 3. The policy was first implemented on Monday.
Hindi pa po nakapagpa-vaccine, paano naman po sila mag-work? Kung hindi sila makapag-ride, paano sila makakalabas?
Pinababa po kami ngayon kasi nahanapan po kami ng mga ID, vaccine card. Wala pa po akong vaccine card. Magkapabaksin pa lang po ako ngayon dyan sa may circle.
Bello said many people were unduly deprived of essential services, including public transportation, because of their lack of access to vaccines. He said workers can now use jeepneys, buses, and trains just by presenting their company ID or certificate of employment. The non-vaccinated, meanwhile, will be brought to nearby inoculation centers.
Meron pa akong kalituhan nung Monday, hindi ko gaya ngayon. So ngayon, sir, ang nahuhuli namin sa ngayon, more on social distancing na lang, doon sa health protocol na lang, sir.
It was smoother on the third day of implementation, though some passengers were still having a hard time getting a ride because of the 70% maximum capacity rule in public transport. The number of traffic enforcers on the road was also hampering the ease of riding. Despite the improving situation, many transport and labor groups still believe the no vaccine, no ride policy is anti-poor, saying private vehicles should also be checked on vaccinated passengers.
Alam naman natin na halos na bankrupt yung transport sector natin for the past 2 years.
Yung clarification ni Secretary Bello ay hindi pa rin sapat. Sa actual practice kasi, iba ang mga polisiya na nakasulat o yung ina-announce sa national level. Malinaw na ito ay diskriminasyon, ito ay anti-poor.
The Transportation Department maintains that not all workers are exempted from the policy, as some businesses are still not allowed to operate under Alert Level 3. But one expert believes the policy will not make a big difference for a number of reasons, including the continued movement of unvaccinated people. He says granular lockdown is better than blanket ECQ, MECQ lockdown.
This means that if we're going to restrict the unvaccinated, still vaccinated people can share the virus.
The implementation of the policy may be improving, but many still believe it's not timely, as the labor sector has yet to recover from the effects of the pandemic. Stanley Gahete, CNN Philippines.
The governor of Cebu Province, Gwen Garcia, says there will be no discrimination against the unvaccinated, contrary to what is imposed, she says, by the national government. This means vaccination cards will not be a requirement for employment, education, government transactions, and entering establishments or using public transportation. Garcia says, quote, "We are still a nation of laws," unquote, and that establishments only need to encourage others to get vaccinated. In Cebu City, which is independent from Cebu Province, Mayor Michael Rama only encourages establishments to come up with their own policies and has not yet issued any directive related to unvaccinated individuals. It's a different story in northern Samar, where an executive order was issued to limit the movement of the unvaccinated. Public and private establishments must put up a signage of no vaccination card, no entry. Unvaccinated individuals shall be required to present a negative RT-PCR test result every 2 weeks at their personal expense before they report to work. If there is no negative RT-PCR test or original copy of the vaccination card, a certification from the Bureau of Quarantine may be presented instead for those traveling to and from the province. Rider groups call for more benefits amid the Omicron variant threat. The kapatiran ng dalawang gulong as well as motorcycle hailing app, City Number PH, say delivery riders serve companies and customers without basic benefits such as healthcare services. The groups urge the government to prioritize vaccination of riders so they will be allowed to pass through some borders. In the meantime, House Transportation Chairman Representative Edgar Sarmiento assures riders that companies offering delivery services will have more liability under the Motorcycle for Hire regulation bill that is expected to be passed next week.
Yung ating mga service delivery companies like Grab, Lalamove, at Foodpanda ay ang naging combined income nila during the pandemic ay umabot ng $9 million. So ganun kalaki yung kinita ng ating mga kumpanya during the pandemic. And yet, yun nga, ang problema natin ngayon ay paano nakikinabang ang ating mga delivery riders since wala po silang SSS, wala silang PhilHealth, wala silang Pag-ibig.
Kasama po doon sa batas natin yung food delivery riders, ano. At in fact, kasama, in fact, sinama rin doon sa batas na ginawa natin, ano. At hopefully para sa atang version ng Senate at saka ng House. Kasama rin po ang liability po ng itong systems holder. Hindi lang po si motorsiklo kasi dati may na-aksidente, hindi man lang tinulungan ng kumpanya. Hindi na ata po pwede ngayon yan, no? The liability of the drivers is the liability of the company as well.
Straight ahead, the printing of ballots for the May elections has been deferred because of technical errors. And Asia's Phoenix prepares for a concert marking her 10th year in the industry. Keep it here on CNN Philippines.
Bilib ako sa MX3 dahil ito ay napatunayang may alpha, beta at gamma mangosteen. MX3 capsule helps avoid pain discomfort para iwas sakit. Tested and proven na low sodium, cholesterol-free at fat-free. Dito ako sa tunay, natural at original. MX3.
Mahalagang paalala, ang MX3 capsule ay hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamiting panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
Your vote, your voice, our future. Welcome back to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. Authorities are still hunting down 2 more inmates who bolted the maximum security compound of the new Bilibid prison in Muntinlupa on Monday. Police in Metro Manila and nearby provinces have been alerted to the immediate arrest of Chris Ablas and Raquilu Falcon, both convicted for robbery with homicide. Falcon also has pending murder, frustrated murder, and robbery charges. The Bureau of Corrections described them as armed and dangerous. Authorities are offering a 100,000 peso bounty for information that can lead to their arrest.
While they were escaping, may PDL din po na wala silang pakundangan na binaril at naging wounded po yon. But we have received news yesterday that the PDL na nabaril nila ay nag-expire na po at yun po ay palaya po sana within this month. So isa po yun, ganun po ka-violent itong dalawa na hinahunting po natin ngayon.
The other day, 2 other fugitives, Pacifico Adlawan and Arwin Bio, were killed in a supposed firefight. Justice Secretary Manado Guevara said he wants to know how the inmates escaped from maximum security and how they were able to get firearms and other weapons. Guevara ordered the National Bureau of Investigation to look into the jailbreak. He also wants administrative sanctions against Bucor officials found guilty of gross neglect. Another vaccination site has opened in the city of Manila where you can walk around the park after getting your COVID shot. Our senior correspondent David Santos takes us to the Manila Zoo.
One moment, Mali the elephant is feeding on grass. Later, Manila Zoo's most famous resident is seen mingling with a group of journalists as if she has missed the crowd and is welcoming people she hasn't seen since the 2019 park shutdown. The Manila Zoo now adds to the growing list of vaccination sites in the city of Manila. The goal here is to entice more young people and the elderly to get vaccinated. At the same time, promote the zoo's impending reopening after 3 years.
It's always about making opportunity, creating opportunity, accessibility, and convenience sa mga taong bayan na may option silang magpabakuna anytime habang nag-e-enjoy sa Manila Zoo.
Starting Wednesday until the end of the month, about 8,000 visitors will be accommodated here primarily for vaccination. Entrance is free for now. Just visit the zoo website. Some of those first to avail were in fact non-Manila residents. Among them, this grandma from Angono, Rizal.
Nung malaman namin na open dito, Manila Zoo, ay, punta tayo, tuloy pasyal.
And this Mandaluyong mom who brought along some kids.
Enjoy po sila. Birthday din po kasi nung pamangkin namin, kaya dito namin celebrate.
Medical experts praise the idea to bring COVID vaccination to the Manila Zoo.
Nakita niyo naman po yung mga peacock, yung mga agila po, yung mga fowlers. Nakaka-relax eh.
The animals on display are still limited since reconstruction is still ongoing. But for zookeepers, it's the idea of bringing back visitors that excites them the most.
Aso po sir, dito po kami sa Butterfly Garden.
Gloria has worked at the zoo for almost a quarter of a century.
Ito ang mga aming mga halaman na inaalagaan namin dito.
She's due to retire next month.
Kung hindi lang ako mag-retiro, ayoko pa umalis ang Manila Zoo eh. Para makita ko yung talaga enjoyment dito.
For now, she's more than happy to welcome the handful of guests in the rehabilitated, now better-looking Manila Zoo. David Santos, CNN Philippines.
Mayor Moreno says the city government is also planning to open another vaccination site at the Manila Bay Dolomite Beach. Meanwhile, Manila will soon have its own supply of the antiviral drug Bexovid. This is the world's first generic version of Pfizer's Paxlovid. The Food and Drug Administration granted Manila's compassionate special permit, which would allow the city to procure Bexovid. Global headlines now. A warning from the World Health Organization. The pandemic is nowhere near over. A top American doctor says while it is still too early to tell, the Omicron variant may signal a shift from pandemic to an endemic phase of the coronavirus. But that's only if no other variant escaping immunity emerges. Experts earlier said more variants may appear in areas with low vaccine coverage. The WHO reminding everyone no country is out of the woods yet, even if cases have peaked in some. Americans can now order free COVID-19 tests online as Omicron further spreads in the United States. It cost 99.5% of all new cases there last week, while Delta makes up the remaining tally. The White House opened federal website covidtest.gov, which will facilitate the supply of 4 free tests per household. These will be shipped within 7 to 12 days after placing the order. Meantime, a promising development from Pfizer. Its oral antiviral drug Paxlovid is effective against the highly infectious new variant based on results from 3 separate laboratory studies. The studies show a main component of the drug has potential to prevent Omicron from replicating in cells. The treatment will still be monitored in real-world settings. Hong Kong, much like China, is taking drastic steps as it remains resolute in pursuing a zero-COVID strategy. The city's latest directive culling thousands of small animals after some hamsters were found with the coronavirus. CNN's Selena Wang has more.
Omicron is spreading in China just weeks ahead of the Beijing Winter Olympics. It's now in multiple cities across the country. The host city just reporting 3 new COVID cases, 2 of them linked to an Omicron case. In response, authorities have locked down residences, workplaces. Across China, some 20 million people are sealed in their homes. And so the Olympics will be taking place in China as many parts of the country are in wartime mode to stamp out the virus. But organizers are betting they can still pull off the Olympics successfully by keeping Olympic participants completely separate from the rest of the population and under extreme COVID rules. Meanwhile, Hong Kong is also doubling down on its zero COVID strategy. The city says it's going to euthanize around 2,000 small animals, and all pet shops selling hamsters have to hand them over to be killed. These are extreme measures. These steps are in response to one shop worker testing positive for the Delta variant, along with nearly a dozen hamsters from the shop. And all of this despite health authorities saying that transmission from animals to humans is low. What this highlights is that as the rest of the world is learning to live with COVID, Hong Kong and mainland China are still trying to stamp out every last trace of the virus. Selena Wang, CNN, Tokyo.
The directive prompted outrage from pet owners and animal rights advocates. At least 18,000 people have signed a petition to stop the government-ordered culling. The Commission on Elections pushes back the printing of ballots for the 2022 polls to a later date. It was initially scheduled for today. COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez says the printing committee took various technical factors into consideration, adding that the move will not impact preparations for the May elections. The 7th and final petition against presidential aspirant, former Senator Bongbong Marcos, now up for decision before the Commission on Elections' Second Division. The proceedings were concluded after the Marcos team and the Pudno nga Ilocano group submitted their final points on the disqualification case. The Ilocano group's petition seeks to kick Marcos out of the 2022 race because of his 1995 tax conviction and to have him banned from running for public office. In response, the Marcos camp insists that Marcos was allowed to run for many elective posts by the poll body in previous years. They also argue that the disqualification cannot be imposed anymore since he already paid the fines for the tax cases in 2001. The COMELEC Second Division already dismissed an earlier petition to cancel Marcos' certificate of candidacy filed by human rights groups represented by lawyer Theodore Te. Here's what some 2022 aspirants are up to. Bongbong Marcos and Sara Duterte add 4 more senatorial bets to their ticket. Duterte said they are re-electionist Senator Win Gatchalian, former Quezon City Mayor Herbert Bautista, and former Defense Secretary Gibo Teodoro. Marcos also introduced Antica Representative Lauren Legarda in the slate, but she was not at the event. Other senatorial aspirants present were former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, former Senator Jinggoy Estrada, and former Public Works Secretary Mark Villar. This is also the first time Villar endorsed Marcos for president. Villar was earlier part of the senatorial ticket of the PDP Laban faction, led by Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi. Meanwhile, Ping Lacson slams the Agriculture Department's plan to import 60,000 metric tons of fish, namely galunggong and mackerel. The center says the DA might as well be killing fishermen through the move. Manny Pacquiao also against the move. He says the country should instead be exporting fish given its marine resources. And Vice President Leni Robredo says more help should be given to micro, small, and medium enterprises to generate jobs amid the pandemic. Robredo says the government should provide capital to MSMEs as well as stimulus grants in condition that the employer will not lay off workers. Coming up on Newsnight, fans of Asia's Phoenix can celebrate Morissette Amon's decade in music through a digital concert this month. And we give you details on another highly anticipated event, a look at the When We Were Young Festival's punk band lineup after the break.
Kay dami mong pinagdaanan, ngayon pa ba susukuan? Kung lahat tayo'y nabibigat sugatan, sama-sama natin tong lagpasan. Sa bawat laban, hinebra tayo, at sa pag-ahon, hinebra tayo. Sa huling patak ng bagong tapang, pagsubok mo ay malalampasan. Sasama-samang huling patak, tuwid-tindig ang bagong tapang.
Lalaban
Hanggang sa huling patak. Para sa pangarap, para sa pamilya.
para sa bayan. Hanggang sa huling patak para sa One Metro Nation.
Welcome back to CNN Philippines. I'm Pia Ontiveros. To mark 10 years of making music, Morissette Amon is taking her powerhouse vocals to the digital stage. The viral pop sensation is set to hold Phoenix, an online concert, on January 23 and 24. But for this event, Morissette is also taking on the role of a co-producer for the first time.
Syempre, we have a lot of songs in this concert. There's choreography and just how we shot the concert also. It kind of feels like a movie na may mga blockings kami. So, hindi siya yung typical concert natin na live na kung saan ka pa pwesto sa stage, go, okay na yan.
The star also talked about how she envisions her career for the next decade. Morissette said she hopes to release more original songs and help raise the Filipino flag through her work. Still in music, people who grew up with punk songs may get nostalgic over this Las Vegas Festival's lineup, from Avril Lavigne to My Chemical Romance. The When We Were Young stage will bring together some of the most famous emo artists of the 2000s. This October 22, a netizen says the event reminds them of their old iTunes playlists. Paramore announced their appearance in the festival, saying, "We've missed you." This will be the band's first show since going on a hiatus in 2018. The concept of a new streaming series may sound familiar. How I Met Your Father is a sequel to the long-running sitcom How I Met Your Mother. CNN's David Daniel lets us in on what to expect with the show's creators and stars.
It was hard to live in the moment in 2022. There was always someplace else you could be, someone else you could be with.
How I Met Your Father updates and diversifies its predecessor, How I Met Your Mother, with a new group of young New Yorkers led by Hilary Duff.
I know this might sound crazy, but I've been on 87 Tinder dates this year.
The show's creators cop to being big fans of the original series.
We continue to love the world of just being young in that chapter of life where your friends feel like your family and you're coming up and trying to figure out your career and your love life.
It's really hard to meet someone and connect and have it feel easy.
We had characters on the page and we had ideas of who these people were in our heads, but you want to be flexible. If you see something that's magic, you want to write towards it. You want to make it work for your show.
And I remember my manager telling me, like, they really want to cast first and see who's going to play these characters to really write around them. And I was like, oh, so it was fun to know that I had the freedom to really, really create.
The first table read where we all got to be together, I think all of us left with like that little chill down your spine feeling of like, holy, that worked. And I think we have a show.
We all really do get along very clearly, offset as well as on. And that alone, I think, makes our show very special to watch.
New relationships, new friendships. But to get to have that universe to play in and then go a different direction is so exciting.
Through being mature. Yes, we can still make bad choices for a few more years.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
And that's it for tonight. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
This program is brought to you by
Most, if not all of us, would rather not experience pain. After all, who wants to relive the agonizing feeling of a headache or joint pain? Absolutely no one. But believe it or not, pain is actually beneficial. It's the body's way of telling you that something's wrong, a warning sign so that you can protect yourself ahead of time. Of course, that doesn't mean that we should just live with the pain. There are tried and tested ways, from prescription medication to natural methods, to help relieve the pain. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez. Our goal here on the program is to help you better understand the care you need and deserve. You're watching MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. People respond to pain differently, with everyone having their own tolerance for different kinds of pain. In short, pain can be very subjective. To help us more with today's topic, let's welcome Dr. Frank Nacario. He's the chairman of the Asian Hospital Pain Management Committee and consultant at the Department of Anesthesiology. Also with us is Dr. Fatima Lautan. She's a traditional Chinese medicine specialist from VRP Medical Center. There are many ways to categorize pain, but for this episode, let's separate it into two kinds: acute and your chronic pain. Now, acute pain can be mild up to severe, but it is usually short-lived. It can come on suddenly, and it can have no specific cause. Generally, it lasts for fewer than 12 weeks and goes away once the underlying cause is treated. Pagdating sa acute pain, what are the more common causes that you see in your practice?
They are the usual dental pain, headache, dysmenorrhea, or even indigestion can be causes of acute pain.
Now, pain that lasts for more than 12 weeks, even after the original injury or causes the pain has healed, may be considered that you have a chronic type of pain by now. Now, it can range from mild to severe and can be present for long periods of time. Dr. Fats, I'd like to ask, since yung pain is subjective, marami sa mga viewers natin probably ang natitiis ang certain amounts of pain in their lives, ano? Pero kapag natitiis pa ang pain, does this mean na hindi kailangan gamutin?
When you feel a mild headache, it doesn't mean sometimes it is on the surface only, this headache, but pinatagal ninyo yung headache, it can lead to a more chronic form of headache. It might be your brain, maybe having a tumor or growing something organic that we do not know, and you miss that golden period to have a checkup with your doctor, so the disorder will be more difficult to treat when you prolong that period, that pain.
What's a good gauge that you can advise our viewers that this type of pain that they're feeling needs a professional assessment already?
When they experience the first episode of pain, they take something over the counter, self-medication, and then they get relief, then well and good. But if that pain recurs, and with each recurrence, it becomes more severe and getting severe and getting severe every time, then it really warrants a consult. A good example would be headache. We tend to just take something from our medicine cabinet. We get relief, but then it happens again. We should definitely rule out something more serious like an aneurysm. So a consult with your doctor is really important.
Dr. Frank, please explain further the psychological effects ng pain and pagdating sa mood or sa demeanor ng tao.
Pain is just one aspect of how we report or how our body manifests something that is going on inside our body. Aside from pain, it is actually influenced by our mood, even manifests how we relate with our family, our colleagues, at work or at home. If we are bothered by something, problem at home or at work, it can even magnify the pain experience.
Now, Dr. Fats, pagdating sa traditional Chinese medicine or TCM, how is pain assessed and when is that level of pain deemed proper for TCM intervention?
In TCM, Pain is generally regarded as a result of qi and blood stagnation or deficiency. When the normal flow of qi and blood is blocked, discomfort or pain may be experienced. Qi and blood stagnation may lead to swelling, sore muscles, joint pain, headache, chest pain, or even sore throat. In TCM, we have a very famous saying that goes, if there is free flow, there is no pain. If there is no free flow, you will feel the pain. Meaning, as long as the qi or the vital energy and blood flows freely and smoothly without hindrances within your vessels or channels, there will be no pain.
Now, first, let's discuss pain relievers or methods in which to address the pain that you feel. I'll start first with Dr. Frank. In conventional medicine, what do people usually buy? Ito yung mga over-the-counter medications, ano? What is the type of medications that can usually address mild to moderate pain that is over-the-counter?
Our mothers, they give us mefenamic acid, paracetamol, diclofenac, the usual pain relievers that they give us, or whatever that ails us. And usually they are of inflammatory origin, meaning you need an anti-inflammatory drug, and that's mefenamic and diclofenac.
Dr. Fats, pagdating sa TCM naman, what is the more common procedures done para or things given kapag may mild to moderate pain?
Acupuncture is a very popular method, even here in the Philippines. It usually treats pain but not limited to pain. So in order for an acupuncturist to diagnose these conditions, he must answer the following questions. If the pain is due to blockage to qi or blood, or it is due to a deficiency state. If the pain is due to blockage, is the pain characteristic of a qi stagnation or a blood stagnation? What pathogenic factors are involved? What channels are involved? What internal organs are involved? The answer to these questions will directly determine the treatment that the patient will receive from their acupuncturist or TCM practitioner.
Now, Dr. Frank, on the conventional medicine side, is there a proper way to take these pain relievers?
A good guide would be the instructions written at the back of the box or on the bottle. The manufacturers actually suggest a safe dosing guide. So if you're self-medicating, that will do.
Now, Dr. Fats, when it comes to TCM, ano ang mga na-address ng acupuncture? Is it mostly mild to moderate pain?
Most pain conditions, including low back pain, shingles, and other nerve pains, hand and knee pain like arthritis, headache, fibromyalgia, and menstrual pain. Acupuncture is also used for other conditions like insomnia, myoma, tinnitus, and vertigo, to name a few.
Now, medications and procedures that address pain are both valuable for doctors and patients alike. But like all medicine, whether conventional or TCM, they can have some certain limitations or even side effects which must be addressed. When we return, we'll talk about what these are. We're your connection to healthcare. You're watching MedTalk Health Talk.
The awesome chef talaga. Thank you so much. I'm glad you really enjoyed. Thank you. So, mommies, what a way to start our day. And of course, Chef Yen here will be back with me to share more recipes. So don't go away. Wholesome Meals, Better Life. We'll be right back.
Put on a few pounds the past month or so. Now it's time to get back in shape. I'll be introducing you to a workout routine called Opposing Supersets. You can go faster, squat, and side leg lifts. 2, 1, reminding you to stay home and stay fit.
Overseas voting frequently asks questions for the 2022 elections.
Now, the aim of addressing pain is to improve your quality of life. But pain relievers also have potential side effects. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and you're watching MedTalk Health Talk. We're together in health. With regards to conventional medicine, over-the-counter medications, ano yung mga risk dito? Lalo na kapag hindi nagpapacheck muna sa doktor whenever buying over-the-counter medication.
Let's start off with paracetamol. It's really relatively safe medicine, even on extended use. But there should be caution in patients using them if the patient has a liver disease. No, the liver function is below normal. Another group of drugs are the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, or the NSAIDs. No, on short-term use, it is fairly safe. It is a very good anti-inflammatory drug. But on extended use, unsupervised, it can cause hyperacidity, even gastritis, even bleeding from the stomach because it has a negative impact on the lining of the stomach.
Marami siguro ang mag-wonder, over-the-counter medications, mataas ba ang risk ng overdose pagdating dito?
You just follow the recommendation of the manufacturer, then I think you're fairly safe. But a big caution would be on the non-steroidals.
Now, Dr. Fats, pagdating sa TCM naman, pwede bang sumobra with certain procedures like acupuncture? Are there any risks that our viewers need to know about? Anything that they should be aware of?
The patient should make sure that their doctor or the practitioner should be certified under the regulatory body of Alternative Medicine, the PITAC, Philippine Institute of Traditional Alternative and Healthcare, to ensure that the doctor knows what she's doing. Okay, in acupuncture, we do not limit actually on how many sessions do you have in a week. In some cases, we can have, if patient is okay with their time and doctor's time, we can suggest 3 times a week to 2 times a week.
Are there any over-the-counter medicines that should definitely not be combined? For the most part, they are generally safe, but are there anything that our viewers might, any added knowledge that our viewers would need to know?
For difficult pains, or for difficult or complicated pains, or for chronic pains, actually what we do is we combine medications. We combine medications, making use of the different mechanisms available. So when we combine medications, we just make sure that they target different mechanisms, and it's called multimodal pain management. But when we talk about over-the-counter medications, it has to be supervised. If the pain keeps coming back, ang aray or ang kirot na pabalik-balik or paulit-ulit ay kailangang alamin kung bakit siya nangyayari. No, just to make sure that it is not something bad, no? And we're too late when we need to intervene.
How about in TCM? If there's different factors of pain, are there also a combination of procedures or treatments with TCM?
We also have different kind of pain, like pain due to chi stagnation is different from pain caused by blood stagnation. It has a different feeling on the patient. Like pain caused by chi deficiency is different from pain caused by blood deficiency. In TCM, we also have this kind of categories.
Now I'll go to what happens kapag yung over-the-counter medicine hindi gumana, or the pain is too great for that over-the-counter medication or acupuncture to be able to help. Where does the patient go now? I'll start first with Dr. Frank. What does the patient do now? Over-the-counter medications does not work for the level of pain that they have. What is the next step?
It's a signal. So we should consult. We should consult whether they are our family doctor or a specialist, at least somebody who can assess and do again your history taking. All of us doctors who trained during med school, we were taught how to get information from the patient, and those interviews, those history taking are really important, and it will guide you on the next step to do. So a pain that is refractory or unrelieved or doesn't get better with the medication that the patient is taking has to be investigated, and a consult is the only thing that we can advise to our viewers.
Sa TCM, Dr. Fats, kapag nag-acupuncture na yung patient, hindi pa rin na-relieve, is there a next step up?
we will reevaluate the patient. We'll see how far that we have gone. If the patient really did not kahit konting improvement, same with Dr. Frank, we'll check history again, and if laboratory is needed on the Western medicine side, Western and Chinese medicine works hand in hand, especially in these difficult to treat conditions. So we can give herbs also to assist acupuncture. We'll also review the prescription points if we have missed something, or we need to do laboratories to further check the patient.
That's right. So all of these dapat nasa guidance with your physician or your doctor. Now, aside from medications, there are natural remedies that may help treat and alleviate mild or even moderate pain. We'll talk about this and more when we return. Your health is our mission. This is MedTalk Health Talk. When you're in pain, your first impulse may be to reach for medication. But there are other natural remedies that may help. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and you're watching MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines, where your care comes first. As part of some of the natural ways to relieve pain, a very common practice now is the use of essential oils. Is there any basis for this? Is this something that our viewers can use to relieve pain?
To tell you the truth, this is not really my expertise, but I've read on it. I encountered patients, even some relatives and friends who use them. So there's actually a published study. They analyzed different researches on using essential oil. So primarily, the main result out of that study was that it was beneficial in relieving pain, but they couldn't really ascertain what's the mechanism, why it works, in relieving pain. A second important information from that study is that it is part of the whole management of pain, meaning that it's not the only intervention for pain. So there is one theory why it works. It actually targets or stimulates a center in the brain or receptors in the brain that brings about comfort. And if the patient is comfortable, so it distracts the patient or the person from the pain. Hence, he gets relief. But again, for its use in the overall picture of pain management, it actually calms the patient down. It works like an anxiolysis, It makes the patient comfortable, but together with the conventional medicine, so the different medicines that we give, rehab and physical therapy, the complementary medicine that Dr. Fats does, and this is actually more applicable for chronic pain sufferers, so those who are having pains for some serious conditions.
For mild to moderate pain, they're at home, wala silang over-the-counter pain relief. Are there any ways that you would suggest, Dr. Frank, that could be possible to relieve that pain?
For muscle pains, we are familiar with this, the topical pain relievers. There are a lot of options available. So you have liniments, you have, there are even NSAIDs who come in cream form that can be used as a topical for topical application. And there are even anesthetic creams that we can use.
When it comes to TCM, how big of a role are topical balms and oils with the relief of pain?
It is generally safe. It's over the counter. You can buy that without prescription. But again, it is better to be guided by a physician, a licensed practitioner who is knowledgeable to guide you on the usage of these ointments and cream. Because any medicine, whether it is oral, topical, or sublingual, or in whatever forms, they have side effects.
This discussion was very helpful. Thank you, pain management specialist Dr. Frank Nacario and traditional Chinese medicine specialist Dr. Fatima Lautan. We want to be your partner for a lifetime of good health. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is MedTalk Health Talk.
To the pollution that continues to threaten our seas, rivers, and